how dangerous this match is.
Yeah,
we were seeing Sheamus rolling on the floor, like in pain on the grates. And, you know, even during the Elimination Chamber match, JBL told us about his experiences and how he saw Umaga walking along those grates in bare feet and just how painful that is. Except it had no relevance to this match because there are no metal grates outside.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Like, listen, first of all, if WWE are going to have mats instead of that, you know, I understand that. Maybe you don't want guys getting injured this so soon, you know, close to WrestleMania. Okay, it makes sense to maybe have mats going in. You know, I always felt like when they had Chamber in that spot every year just before WrestleMania, I always thought it was just a weird time to have an Elimination Chamber whole pay-per-view where you know you've got to keep pulling it out. And I do think it's a silly timing to do it because it's just so risky. And they always talk about this match being dangerous, lethal. So I think, how can you really sell it when you know that the guys are going to be there at WrestleMania anyway? So, you know, it seems a bit stupid because they've never sold an on-screen story mat where a guy's been so badly injured he's had to take a month or 2 months off. You know, let's put it that way. So they haven't done a good job there. And I thought, you know, if you're going to have to tone this down, then for God's sake, don't mention all this stuff and have videos playing of the history. I mean, it just made absolutely no sense. Now, if they'd have just gone on with it and said this is a new one, fine, I'm totally down with that. But the fact that they kept reiterating all this how dangerous it is when clearly there are mats there now, I just thought it made the guys in there look stupid. And it done them more harm than good. Because if you'd have just left it, just said, this is an update, this is what we got, you know, all this is on the line, it's for the title, this close to WrestleMania, everything's at stake, that's enough. I think people would have still enjoyed it just as much. But the fact they kept saying that over and over again in the video played before, it was like, come on, give me a break, like, you expecting me to believe that? It's just so stupid. I just thought it made the wrestlers look silly. That's just my take on it. We did get a lot of people emailing in about the whole look of it and going up in arms. But you know, I wasn't to the point of negative where I'm like, oh God, you know, I want to see these guys break their back on steel and I want to see the hardcore. I want to see, because listen, make no mistake about it, we're in a PG era. We're not getting blood. We're not getting any of this stuff now. You got to just accept where we are. So it's just one of those things where I'm not gunning for violence, but I do feel like they shouldn't have made that whole point and statement about how dangerous it is when it is what it is now. But the match itself, Matt, I'm going to say that I was really impressed with it. I thought it was laid out very well, and look, it seemed like they'd taken a good amount of time to sort this out properly. Even though, you know, if you looked at the odds or anything like that, my goodness, there was no doubt in anybody's mind there who was going to win. So. For you, Matt, the match itself, first and foremost, how did you like it?
Yeah, you know, I think they made the best of the situation. I know they were limited by what they could do now by the new cell, but sure. I think they did it well, and I think they got the order right. You know, I think John Cena starting with AJ, they're the ones that can really go the distance, and particularly we saw that with AJ that he can go like the half hour plus that this match was and still have a lot in the tank at the end to go with the one-on-one kind of scenario and still make that very interesting. Sure. No, I was always constantly distracted by the new cell though. I just kind of like, it's new, but why is it so tall? I just kept on thinking. I was thinking, and then the new safety procedures kind of led me to other thinking, like, are those chains really metal? Or are they plastic chains now? You know, just so many thoughts were distracting me from it, but it shouldn't have been, because it was a good match. It was just like you said, though, like, if you had any idea about the odds that were going into this match, then that was also a little bit surprising, because I'm not too sure, like, I would be choosing that winner myself. I feel like there was other options there that night that could have led to a more interesting kind of WrestleMania match. Sure. I'm not saying this one will be dull, but it's just kind of, is it what the fans want?
Yeah, I think. I mean, first and foremost, I want to say I'm really happy that Bray Wyatt finally. I think this is his actually. I think this is his first singles title anywhere. He didn't win anything on NXT, did he? So singles wise, he's won tag team twice now, but singles, this is his first big title, and it's been a long time coming, no doubt about it. But for me, and it goes back to what I said at the Royal Rumble, I do feel like if you knew this was the setup, I would have preferred it had Bray have won the Rumble and Randy win here. Instead of the other way round, because I just think it's more significant for Bray to win it, not inside a chamber, but actually at WrestleMania. I know it sounds odd and weird, but I don't know. I mean, him winning the title of the chamber after all this time, it just seems like it's come out of nowhere a little bit. There hasn't been a real run into this where I felt like he's had a lot of momentum. I just think it's like the story of Randy and Bray has basically taken them to this moment. But before we get there, obviously before we get to that point, because there is a lot to it. One thing I'm going to throw out is that the match was really good. I mean, I enjoyed a lot of what was going on in the match, and as I said before, I think it was very, very well worked out, very well constructed. Which does make a change, because sometimes in these chambers, especially when we used to get 2 on one night, my goodness, that was something else. That was I just felt like it was always rushed to such a sort of crazy extreme level. But seeing that how WWE had actually gone with this, and how much effort they'd gone to kind of put the guys where they needed to be, I just felt like it was a nice change to something that had been in the past such a sort of the same formula was getting used every year. The only thing I will say that if there was one sort of small niggle that I had through it, through the whole thing, and if it was going to bother me that much, although it didn't, it wasn't a major deal by any stretch of the imagination. But if there was one thing, I'd probably say that maybe the way they used John Cena, and it could have been a little bit better. I just think as the champion, as the guy that won the 16th, tying it up, I just think they could have done a bit more with him, just in terms of just trying to give us that overall emotion in the match with Cena. But a lot of it really was about making Bray Wyatt the new WWE champion, no doubt about it. That was where they were going with it, and nonetheless, at the end of it, that's what we got. And I've got to say, it's been a long time coming. I'm going to give a shout to Liam Heavy G, who is a massive Bray Wyatt fan. He was very, very happy about him winning this, because he's been a Bray Wyatt for a while, fan for a while, not Bray for a while. What am I talking about? Which was cool. So there was obviously that excellent positive feel about him winning this match, and so for that, I will say I was really happy that Bray won, but I just felt like it possibly is at the wrong time. Matt, hoping we've still got you on our line. Yeah. What did you think about getting to the end of it and Bray Wyatt finally getting the title?
It definitely felt to me long overdue, but there was that sneaking feeling like, is it too little, too late? Because he's been around a long time now, and they were running off a list of opponents that he's faced. They were throwing out names there like The Undertaker, John Cena, and The Rock and whatever. And I was thinking, like, how many of these guys has he won the payoff match to? Like, even if you include, like, Roman Reigns and all that in this list, I'm thinking he's always been there, but he's always, like, got to the top and then just, like, messed it up at the last minute. And I'm not saying that's his fault. I'm saying that's, like, the people that have been writing the stories for this guy and then deciding who's going to win. But there's no denying that it's had a detrimental effect on his character. And he's now almost like synonymous with the name of the guy that sort of he gets the job done halfway, but then like he can't ever really finish it. And people have been waiting for it. Every time he was in a Royal Rumble, they thought maybe this is his opportunity, but it's always just slipped by narrowly. And now we're at WrestleMania, and we're thinking, now out of all the times in the year, now you point the finger at Bray and say run with the title when this is tremendous pressure on your first kind of singles title run, and for it to be a heavyweight title as well, it's just an incredible ask, and I'm not too sure like Bray will be ready for that.
Yeah, for me it feels like it's more substantial when him winning at WrestleMania than it is him winning the title at the Elimination Chamber. Like, he has to win at WrestleMania for him to really be credible. And I know that sounds weird because, you win the WWE Championship, that should be enough. But because it's taken so long for Bray and because he's never ever backed up what he said, you have to have him going over at WrestleMania now for this to really establish him. Because if he loses and he has that belt for a month, that is just that's it. I mean, you might as well have not bothered. So I feel now there's so much pressure that he has to win, which is very odd in the whole Randy Orton situation, because people will remember, Matt, when Randy won the last time he won the Rumble. Again, he didn't go on and win. He would lose that match to Triple H at WrestleMania 25, going in as the Rumble winner, and it almost seems like the same sort of setup again, that they've just gone with the guy that they're used to. Before we get to all that, Matt, going ahead of ourselves, what did you make of the match itself? Was it decent, and other than obviously being slightly distracted by the height of the thing?
Yeah, it was a decent match, but it's just the whole, like, if you're going to call it Elimination Chamber, I can't help, I have to compare it to previous Elimination Chambers. And stacked up against previous Elimination Chambers, it just missed a lot, and it was feeling quite lacking. And I think, I don't want to say it's because of the level of violence, but it's just the obviousness that it was so obviously turned down, like, on the violence level. It just was a little distracting. And to me, if I was going to rate this, I could only go as far as a 3.5 because of that massive distraction. I think if they were going to call it, they shouldn't have even like brought back the Elimination Chamber if this is what we get now. It should have been a relic of the past when things were more violent and looked back on with that kind of nostalgia, rather than bring this back and sort of like make it a shell of what it formerly was. Yep.
Yeah, no, I get you. Obviously, massive distraction there on Matt. For me, I'm actually gonna go the other way on this one. I'm gonna go 4 stars because I felt like a lot was on this match, and again, like I said, with the odds, kind of like I knew where it was going, but I did enjoy it. But I do think it's not the match that was terrible. It was just the whole. It just seemed a bit too set up for me. That was the only thing. I mean, this could have easily been a 5-star had all the foundation been laid a little bit better, but it just wasn't. But I think the actual way they went through this was pretty decent. We had some good moments in it and stuff like that. Matt, after this, we got a stare down between Bray and Randy appeared and all the rest of it. But I've got to say, that done nothing for me. I mean, when I saw that, I was just like, yeah, okay. Honestly, like, is that the big buzz, like Austin Rock looking at each other, or, it just didn't have that for me. There was nothing special in that when I saw it, and I do think this whole Randy Orton. First and foremost, I want to say this. I've got to say, Randy Orton in the Wyatts, I don't enjoy it. I've not enjoyed it, and I've tried to take my time with it to think there's more to it. But I just think this is just like, this has been, you can imagine, Matt, they sat down with a pen and said, right, okay, after you're done with Lesnar, this is where we're